What does Jesus' story in Nazareth tell us? What about our choices, our fears, or even our relationship with God today? We'll explore these big questions in this new episode. It's all about helping us grow in our Christian walk.
Welcome, everyone. We're so happy to have you back for episode 019. Today, we dive into the story of Jesus in Nazareth. It's a really important time in Jesus' life, and it's full of wonderful lessons for us.
This episode is part of our Christian Story series. It fits right into our section on Jesus' birth and childhood. We're still exploring Jesus' life in order, from the very beginning.
That's right. Our main source, as always, is Christian tradition. We learn from the New Testament and the writings of early Christians. This is the 19th episode out of 100 in our series.
We offer this as a Bible story and meditation. It's designed to help you think and grow. This episode will be about 12 to 18 minutes long. This gives us plenty of time to really understand the message.
Our main Bible passage comes from the Gospel of Luke. You'll find it in chapter 4, verses 16 through 30. This is where we'll discover this really important scene.
We suggest reading the whole passage. You can do this before or after listening to our episode, but we'll focus on one or two special verses for our meditation.
This story of Jesus in Nazareth fits into the bigger Bible story. We'll look at important themes, like how God's promises come true, and Jesus becoming human. Also, how Jesus first called people to follow him. Our goal is to bring this story to life and show its human and spiritual meaning for us today.
Exactly. We want to see how this old story can still speak to us today. First, we'll ask a human question. Then, we'll explore the Bible's background. We'll tell the story and look at its big turning point. Finally, we'll find its spiritual meaning and how it helps us in our lives.
That sounds like a wonderful plan. To begin, we really want to start with a question everyone can relate to. This isn't just a story. It's a universal human experience we're going to explore together.
That's right. This episode won't just tell an old event. It will show how this story highlights a human experience that's still true today. It's about being welcomed or sometimes being turned away.
Before we dive into the story, it's important to know where this part fits in. It happens at the very start of Jesus' public work. This is right after his baptism and his time in the desert. It's a big turning point for him.
Yes, we need to understand what happened right before. Who are the main people? Where does it take place? And how does it all begin? Most importantly, what's the big problem that moves the story along? Because there's a really strong one.
This background information should give us important clues, but it shouldn't make the story slow down too much. We need to find a good balance. That way, listeners feel part of it, but they don't get lost.
Next up, we'll tell the story of Jesus in Nazareth like a living tale. We'll show how it all starts. Then we'll see the problem or fight. And we'll follow what the people decide to do when things happen.
We'll slow down for the big turning point. That's the moment when everything changes and there's no going back. We'll show what happens right after the story. That's when the feelings and the meaning really shine through.
We'll talk about what people did, what they said, and how they felt. But we'll always stick to what the Bible tells us. We want to show the big differences, like believing and being scared, or being loyal and running away. Giving versus not giving or waiting and then things happening.
This brings us to the really important part of the story. We'll find the big choice, the special meeting, or the words that make Jesus' story in Nazareth make sense.
We'll ask what the people in the story might lose. What do they learn about God or even about themselves when things get tough? And most importantly, how do their lives truly change? How does it fit into God's big story?
These things don't just affect the people in Nazareth. They're important for everyone. They show us how God comes close. He calls real people and starts new, often quiet, things.
This is super important. To help us understand, we'll look at three main ideas. First, the human side, like the characters' fears, their wishes, or how they change. Then, the spiritual side, showing God's presence, his call, or his kindness.
And of course, the Bible side. This shows how the story gets ready for, continues, or finishes a part of God's big plan. It's like a really important piece in God's giant puzzle.
We'll be careful not to make things too simple. We'll respect the tricky parts of the story. We need to tell the difference between what the story says and what it wants us to understand, without making up our own ideas.
For today, this story helps us see the calls, the changes, and the new starts that God can bring into our regular lives. It makes us think about ourselves, too.
We invite you to think about a similar situation in your own life. What needs a decision or a change? Maybe you can choose one simple thing to do this week. Or you could reread this special Bible story for yourself.
So, the main idea is this. Jesus' story in Nazareth reminds us that even when people make choices, or feel weak, or things get mixed up, there's a bigger story happening. It's God's wonderful plan to help everyone.
That's a great summary. We're excited to invite you to our next episode. We'll keep exploring Jesus' journey with the Lord. More of his amazing work is waiting for us.
Finally, we offer this prayer. Dear Lord, please help us understand your word. Through Jesus' story in Nazareth, help us see our own challenges. Help us hear your call and grow in truth, trust, and faithfulness. Amen.
We'll leave you with this question. Which part of Jesus' story in Nazareth connects most with what you're going through today? Take some time to think about it. Thank you for listening. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any of our next episodes. See you very soon.